Queens, I mean, are we gonna have to pay, instead of paying, $40 for a queen, is a queen gonna cost us $150 for a mated queen now? I really think we're gonna see some changes in beekeeping in 2025, and I wanna share those changes with you and how they're gonna impact your life. Stay tuned for the entire video, because toward the end of the video, I wanna summarize it by questioning the whole bee loss that everybody is kind of obsessed talking about. Is about this bee loss. And I want to talk about, is there really something new? Is it really as bad as we think? Or is there something else going on? So stay tuned to the end of that video. Before I get too far into this, I want to encourage you guys to please check out my new survey. A lot of you have gotten in on this and have completed it. I appreciate that. Getting a lot of data back. And this survey is going to help us realize what kind of effects the die-outs have had on your bees. Are your bees still living? You have some that are dead. I want to know what kind of treatments that you use in the year, or if you didn't treat, I want to know everything about any information that can help us understand why your bees are living or why they died. So I'll leave a link in the description of this video where you can click on it. You don't have to give any personal information. You can stay anonymous, but it's a way to help us track what we're seeing in bees, what we're seeing happen to bees. So check that out. Let's jump right into the changes I think we're going to see in 2025. And I believe it's best to start explaining it by reading a comment that somebody left on my YouTube channel. Now, I get a lot of comments on all my videos. Thank you guys so much for leaving comments. I do read them. I don't always respond to all of them, but I'll read about 98% of them. And so I appreciate it. So I want to share this comment with you because it kind of brings out what beekeepers are struggling with and why I think there's going to be changes in this year. So let's start. We were first-time beekeepers. Our only intention was to help the population of bees and pollinators as hobbyists. We had done a ton of research, reading, videos, before we even started. We even went to a bee convention and listened to all the lectures. We did an online beekeeping class. We got a mentor, and then at the same time, small hive beetles turned up in our hives. We were just beginning to get a handle on that when we had a heat wave, which forced the bees mostly out of the hive. They began to be picked off by birds and prey. We no sooner got some more ventilation in place when the moths showed up. Our bees had had enough and left the hive. We got them in April of 2024. They were gone by September of 2025. That happened to many people. Many people lost their bees in the fall. We were devastated, but we did everything we could possibly do to help them. We had been checking the hive every few days at least, and every day at the most after finding the small hive beetles. We didn't think it was going to be easy in the beginning, but we had no idea our bees would be hit with everything under the sun either. Testing not only them, but our abilities, our limited abilities to help them. Oh, I appreciate you sharing. I really think this is beneficial to hear feedback like this, because it is a lot to deal with. Now, this is very common to pick up all of the challenges that beekeepers go through, especially in the beginning. But this is not just a beginner beekeeping problem. This is a problem that almost every beekeeper will face. Even commercial beekeepers deal with all of the things that you went through with your hive. Small hive beetle, excessive heat, forcing bees to beard outside the hive, battling small hive beetle, and just, all the things that you have to deal with. It is a big struggle. And all of us deal with that. I get it. And I think sometimes beekeeping is often pictured as something that's very pleasant, very easy to deal with, but it's not. And there's a lot of challenges. Now, this year has been exceptionally harder for bees. I believe, I think last summer toward the fall, we had so many catastrophic climate conditions, hurricanes and droughts and heavy rains. And it was just hard on bees, hard on the beekeeper to get out there and do things. And then all of the things that normally we would see not be such a challenge became even compounded by such a hard winter. cold winter that just would not let up. I mean, this week alone, cold temperatures are just sweeping down into the south again. You don't see temperatures get that cold that deep in the south. Just Arctic blast everywhere, just cold, cold, cold. So one of the things that I want to bring up, guys, I appreciate you watching, is I think we ought to have a candid conversation about what kind of changes that we might see in 2025. And I do want to talk about that because one of the changes that I think that should be made in beekeeping is that we need to spend a little more time considering how we can really communicate to beginning beekeepers or even beekeepers that have been doing it for a while, but they're still struggling. How do we communicate that beekeeping, it's a hobby. It looks like it's going to be a cool, fun hobby. And don't get me wrong, it is. But I really believe that beekeeping really today in 2025 and beyond, it's going to take a lot more vigor. I want to talk about that. It's going to require a lot more vigor from the beekeeper. Now, vigor is, what does it mean to have vigor? It means a strict, thorough, and disciplined approach to beekeeping. And that's what I believe when I'm saying we need more vigor. Because, you go into beekeeping and sometimes it's just going to be a fun hobby and you don't realize that you're going to have to really struggle with a lot of challenges. I think we ought to communicate that. That's what I think ought to change in 2025. All of us that are teaching classes, all of us that are introducing people into beekeeping, we still need to talk about it for what it really is. It's a fun, enjoyable hobby. I mean, gosh, who doesn't love honeybees? And who isn't fascinated by these incredible creatures? We spend our life being amazed at bees. And so we would think that it would all just be wonderful and marvelous. But now there's so many challenges making it very hard for the beekeeper. Before I get into the next big change in 2025, let me just bring out Bobblehead David here. He's always on scene with his subscribe sign, encouraging you guys to subscribe to my YouTube channel here. That way you'll be notified each time I make a new video. Now let's get back into the second thing that I think may change in 2025. Now, I think it requires an exceptional high level to detail to be a beekeeper. And so in beekeeping, I think there needs to be a challenge in 2025 to help people realize that this is something that's going to require great detail, specific attention. You got to be a detailed person, almost like a pilot on an airplane coming in for a landing, almost like a doctor performing surgery. You have to be so much knowledgeable and detailed about how you're keeping bees. One of the things that I've noticed up until this year, and I'm hoping that we'll see a big change in 2025, is that it's easy for us to, I guess, gain a lot of information on our bees from other people. Of course, we have to, especially those of you that are new, right? But what I'm talking about is sometimes we gain information, we want to hear what other people are saying or thinking or doing in order for us to decide what we need to do. And I'm not sure if that's always the best plan. Because sometimes if we hear what other people are doing and we start doing what they're doing, they live in a different place, they have a different approach to their bees that they don't really expose or present to us. We think they're keeping their bees like we keep our bees. Anyway, I think it's important to realize that we're the ones that need to make specific, detailed plans on how we're going to keep our bees. For example, one that I think is really all over the place, and I think we're going to see these changes happen this year, is when it comes to treatments. The attention to treatment is something I think that all of us need to ante up a little bit. We really need more attention to detail, because sometimes we just quickly make a decision how we're going to treat, and our treatment is really based on one thing, and that is, how do we kill mites? But it needs to be based on other things. It needs to be based on, how will this affect my bees? Will it hurt my queen? Will it hurt my brood? What's the long-term effect? Do we really know what the long-term effect is? Instead of just kind of like, okay, this is a approved method, douse them, and douse them again, and douse them again, douse them one more time. Let's kill the mites, you know. And I'm really surprised that in beekeeping, we are quite, we're not reluctant at all in dousing our bees with a lot of chemicals because we know how bad the mites are. I think that's something that we're going to have to really look more into in 2025. And I'm not trying to say that these treatments are bad for our bees, that they're killing our bees, that they're harmful. But historically, that has been what has happened to us as beekeepers. Examples are like coumaphos and fluvalvinate. We use these very harsh synthetic chemicals to kill mites. And then it took a minute for us to realize, uh-oh, these aren't good for bees. These are bad for our bees. Yeah, they're killing mites, but they're also hurting our bees. And so we had to back off the kind of the chemical treadmill a little bit. Now we've seemed to have gotten full force back on the chemical treadmill again. And we need to revisit that and kind of say, is there any correlation between the expansion of the amount of treatments available, the expansion of how often we treat our bees now, and what we're seeing in bees dying off? I think that's going to be something that we're going to see change. But it boils down to, I believe, the individual beekeeper needs to be the responsible one to do their own research about these things and to really look into it. You know, are these different treatments hurting my bees? Are they safe to use? You know, and take an honest look at that. I think we're going to see a big change in 2025, maybe a little bit of a pullback from thinking we can just douse our bees as often with whatever and not have a negative effect on our bees. Again, I'm not saying that's what's causing it. I'm saying we just need to look at that and make sure. The second thing I think we're going to see a change in 2025 with beekeeping is I think we're going to see a more precise and careful planning on behalf of the beekeeper. Right now, I think we're being presented with a lot of different types of hives. We're being presented with a lot of different types of smoker fuel. The market is just being flooded with a lot of different products. And so sometimes it's almost like going to a shopping spree and you see this and that in the vendor hall and you just want to try this and try that. And you know, everybody's a good salesman, and it's often presented like, wow, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And so you try all these new things. But I think we really need a more careful, precise planning in what kind of things we're going to use. When you're planning what to buy, as far as what kind of hive should I use? Should I use the new plastic hives? Should I use a horizontal, a Layens hive, a horizontal hive? There's so many new hives now. You need to really plan it, not based on, it looks pretty and I want that one, but really based on, can my bees survive winter? Will this help them? Now, it's not always up to the hive. We all know that. A hive in the winter can die in anybody's box, right? It has to do with the bee's health, their overall, how many mites they have, how healthy the queen is, nutrition in the hive. It has all to do with that rather than just the box. But sometimes, I guess the margin of survival is so close that sometimes the box, the type of hive, can make a difference. So I think it needs carefully planned out what box is going to be best in your area. Again, you want somebody to tell you that. It'd be easy just to say, I live in this longitude, that latitude, what box should I use? And it's not like that in beekeeping. This is a change I think we're going to start seeing. It's a change I'm pushing for. I hope we see it in 2025, where the beekeeper is able to kind of take the bull by the horn, take the reins, and say, I'm going to figure this out myself. I'm going to look into all the data, the research. I'm going to do a lot of exploring to find out in my area what is going to be my best approach. And I think that's going to be something we're going to see more and more in 2025. And the third thing I want to share, the last thing I want to share, is about a consistent approach to beekeeping. Before I talk about this consistent approach to beekeeping, let me just say I would love to see you at my live stream this Thursday at 7 p.m. We're going to have such a fun time. This Thursday, we're going to be talking about how I wish people would have told me things before I started beekeeping. And I want you to share what you wish people would have told you. That's a lot of fun. So that's going to be 7 p.m. Thursday night. I'll leave a link right here in the description. Over 700 people last week joined us. It's 700 beekeepers getting together. Where else can that happen? It's a lot of fun, and it's cold outside. Where else are you going to go? I'll see you Thursday night. Now let's get back into the last one. This consistent approach to beekeeping is a big game changer for 2025. A lot of in beekeeping is interesting because a lot of beekeepers, whether you're brand new or you've done it for a long time, not a consistent approach. There's so many different voices on beekeeping. There's so many different opinions. There's so many different products. There's so many different management styles that are being thrown at us. There's so many different philosophies. And it doesn't mean that that one's right and one's wrong. I think you can have, rather than have 6 right and 6 wrong, I think you can have 12 that are right. But maybe not all 12 are right for you, not for your style, the way you keep bees, the climate that you live in, your schedule at work. You know, you have to work all that out and come up with your own approach to beekeeping. But once you come up with that approach and you find things that work, you need to stay consistent with that. On my YouTube channel, I get a lot of comments where people are asking me, David, have you ever thought about doing this instead of the way that you do it? And you'll see that I often respond by saying, you know what, I've thought about it, but it's hard for me to want to change what is successful. And that's my approach. It may seem boring. Oh, David still uses a J-hook hive tool. There's a fancier hive tool. David still uses the old-fashioned smoker. You know, you burn it. There's electronic smokers now. David, have you ever tried the brand new vaporizing smoker thingy? You know, it's like, I have, and I prefer mine. And you know, it works. I'm going to stay consistent with what works. I think that's one of the things, rather than thinking, I need to try everything that's new or different because, you know, that's going to save the day. I think when it comes down to it, in 2025, I'm excited about this. I think we're going to finally get to the place where people are going to say, we need to listen to our bees. We need to become better beekeepers, more knowledgeable, and partner with our bees. And let our bees tell us things, rather than us try to tell our bees things. I think we're going to see that in 2025. I think that'd be a big change in that, is that we need to respect our bees and not just have them work for us and not just push them so hard that sometimes they can't make it. We need to really come alongside and truly, truly connect with our bees and help our bees. I'm hoping we'll see that in 2025. That's a big change I think that's needed. And instead of taking everybody's approach out there and applying it to my bees, instead of taking everybody's products out there and applying it to my bees, why don't I learn to look at my bees, make my own decisions, and then stay consistent and plan carefully and have a high attention to detail and really help my bees the best I can. I think that's what we're going to see different in 2025. Now, I promised that I would share this with you toward the end of the video. A lot of you are new to beekeeping, maybe first time last year or first time next year, and you've heard about how bees are dying. And I'm going to give you my perspective on this. So, colony collapse disorder, it was starting to be realized and kind of brought to the forefront of the public in 2007, 2008-ish, around that time. And people began to panic. Bees were disappearing. That's happened in 2007. You go to your hives. This was really heavily in commercial operations, but in some of the smaller beekeepers as well. You go to your hive and there wouldn't be many bees left at all. And so everybody went to work on it. You know, all the entomologists and bee labs started looking into it. And, you know, they began saying, okay, and they didn't know what it was. It was a disorder, not a disease, but some kind of disorder. Why are bees doing this? So a lot of time and money went into figuring this out. Bee labs were created and supported by this, funded by this. And the conclusion was that probably had to do a lot with these viruses that might spread, bad nutrition, the climate, you know, a new pathogen, deformed wing virus. It was just a culmination of many things that just finally broke the back of the bees. Now, before 2007, had this ever occurred before? Absolutely. Yes, dating far back as we can read records and understand. I looked into it even further before I made this video, and it's astounding how way back there's accounts of this happening in other countries, other places. But specifically, if you even look at documentations that you can read here in the US, you can read back, don't quote me on this, but I think it was 1869. There was some literature about bees dying in Colorado like this. And then you can read in the early 1900s. And there were several names for it. I remember the name of fall dwindle disease. And they called it that, fall dwindle disease. And a lot of people thought that it was the same thing as colony collapse disorder. It was like a fall thing where in the fall, bees would just die for no reason at all. So it just didn't happen. This isn't the first time. It isn't really like a new phenomenon that's shocking to beekeepers. This has been around a long time. And so there's different names for it. It was called autumn collapse, maybe, I think was the name of it. Autumn collapse way back. There was writings about it in 1960. You can read and hear about the same things that we're dealing with now. Now, is it different? I'm sure it is. I can't believe that it's not different. I think the whole mechanism for it is probably the same, but I think some of the ingredients are different. You know, maybe the weather phenomenons were added into it this year. Maybe there's a new, more viral pathogen. Maybe there's a worse virus. Maybe there's a new virus that's entered into the scene. And all these different things like that. Sure, it's got to have a different twist to it. For me, the best way for me to understand it for myself is it's colony collapse that's mutated a little bit. Something about our traditional known 2007 colony collapse has mutated a bit, and now here it is again, hitting us all over again with a different twist to it. So when you look at it from that perspective, I don't believe that we can take the position that we're going to lose our bees, it's all over. And I hope that what we don't see is an enormous price increase of bees like we're seeing in eggs. You know, avian flu or the bird flu. All the birds are dying, so the egg prices are 2 to 3 times more. They're just outrageous because of bird flu. And I hope we don't see that with bees, that, oh no, a package of bees used to be $150. Now a package might be $500. You know, if you compare how much eggs have gone up and put that on the bees, you know, you might buy a nucleus for $500 for bees. Oh my gosh, queens. I mean, are we gonna have to pay, instead of paying, you know, $40 for a queen, is a queen gonna cost us $150 for a mated queen now? No, I don't think that's gonna happen. I hope if it does happen, I would think that's price gouging. I really do. Unless it does turn out to be there's only like 50 colonies left in the world. Yeah, I can see it then. But I don't think that's what we're going to see. And the final thing that I want to share, and this is really good for all of us that are in social media with beekeeping, promoting beekeeping, talking about beekeeping, educating people in beekeeping. We still need to hold our head up high. We're proud of our bees. We're proud of what we have accomplished in beekeeping over the years. We're proud of the studies that have been done on bees, with all the work that's done in universities and master beekeepers and backyard beekeepers, discoveries that have been made, videos that are made, books that are written, conferences that are held, vendors that sell things. It is really amazing. And we really still need to support that and be encouraged by it. And I'm just saying, all of us that are in the forefront of beekeeping, let's put our best foot forward. Let's don't get into a gloom and doom, oh no, the sky is falling attitude. Instead, there are a lot of people getting into beekeeping. Let's be honest with them and let them know this year they're going to need more vigor and to really keep their bees healthy. But this is beekeeping. It's a new territory. We all know it. It's not new. We've lost bees like this in the past, but we had to put our best foot forward and present beekeeping as challenging, but still one of the most amazing hobbies that you can get into. If you're new to beekeeping, I've got a great video that I made several years ago, how to start beekeeping. Here it is, guys. I'll see you over there.